The following video is sponsored by the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia. Lifetime members of the Greek Orthodox Cathedral of St. George in Philadelphia, they're well known for their overwhelming gift of giving. Today, Father Bandy is no longer with us, but we have Presvytera Anastasia Bandy, who will talk to us about her life and Father Bandy's life and their relationship with the Greek American community of Philadelphia. Welcome, Presvytera Bandy.
Thank you very much.
Could you briefly give us a description or a bit about yourself and your life here in Philadelphia, where you grew up and who you are today?
Yes, I'm from New England, actually, from Massachusetts, town of Springfield. I grew up there with one brother, and two sisters. I lived only up until I was 19, because that's when I met Father, and when he soon married. I was just about 20 years old, turning 20 when I married him, and had a wonderful life of living with him for 67 years.
Why don't you tell us about how you met Father Bandy?
Oh, well, that was kind of interesting. I was with a group of people at a wedding, and behind me was another group with a couple of students who were from the seminary and were going to be graduating that same summer. And somebody in that group behind me kept, saying things that were, oh, you should be called Ernest, with a name like that. You should be called Ernest. He says, no, I use my real name, Anastasius. Well, I heard that, and I turned around, and there he was. From then on, that whole time in that wedding party, I couldn't get rid of him. He followed me no matter where I went.
Take us forward now to Philadelphia, where you two came together, were married apparently, and came together and started your lives here.
What happened was shortly after we married, he got ordained, first as a deacon, but for very short time usually. And because at the time they needed young priests, they had a lot of places that didn't have a priest. And he became a priest almost a week or two later. And from then on, we were ordered to go to Texas, to San Antonio. I didn't even know where it was. I had to look it up in a dictionary or an encyclopedia to see where it was.
So what was that like for you, and what year did that take place?
Well, it was something so different. I didn't know anything about. Well, I just knew what I learned in, in church, some of the talks that the priest would give. I did read the Bible usually, but I didn't have any idea of what my life was going to be like as a priest's wife.
So how many years did you actually spend in Texas?
We spent 2 years in Texas, and then we were, the priest that had been there had a heart problem, and he was well enough to go back, so they took him back for San Antonio, and we went on to Jacksonville, Florida. And
how long were you folks in Jacksonville, Florida?
Well, in Jacksonville, Florida, we had a very nice church and nice people, but my husband was just not satisfied. Father wanted always to learn. He wanted to get his degree. He wanted to go to if there was a university there, he would have gone to the university and stayed on as priest. But the president of the board at the church was a very nice man, and he liked us a lot. And he told Father, if that's what you really want, you do it, because you'll be sorry later on if you didn't. You go ahead. We can get another priest, although we would love to have you, but we, you know.
Let's talk about Father Bandy then. Give us a brief understanding. Where did he grow up? Where was he from? And
Here in Philadelphia, and he went to high school, through high school. Of course, he was always an A-plus person. He even, you know, often the teachers, you know, tried to get him a little less. I think he knew that he knew that he knew a lot of stuff, and he just liked to learn.
Is that a key word that we can say? That's a way to really summarize his life. He was a learner. Can you speak on that?
Absolutely, yes, yes. He had to get, since, you know, the seminary did not give degrees. They just gave you a sheet saying you had, you know, studied there and so forth. So he had to go to get his bachelor's degree, and when he went to Penn, they told him that he would have to start from the beginning, but he knew an awful lot, you know, and so he decided to ask at LaSalle. LaSalle was very generous to him. They gave him a lot of credit for his degree, of the courses that he had at the seminary. So it only took him 2 years to get the bachelor's degree instead of 4. And then from there he went back to Penn, and now Penn accepted him with the bachelor's, and he got a master's degree. And we stayed here with his parents at their home in West Philadelphia, which had a lot of Greek people at the time. He would go to school, and sometimes I would drive him, sometimes I wouldn't. But his mother went to church often. You know, all the aortes during the middle of the week, and I went with her. So I really got to, you know, to know a lot of the various churches, and also
a man who loved education.
Yes.
And he was constantly reading and studying. Was he earning degrees? Can you speak to some of this again?
Yes, he was constantly.
What was he reading? What did he love to read about?
Well, his real, you know, when he was in high school, everybody thought that he would become a person who would study the stars, and he knew an awful lot about that. But his real love was the language, the Greek, the classical Greek. He knew the modern Greek very well, but the classical Greek is what he wanted to get his degree in, and did, and Latin. So he got his doctorate later on, after another parish we had. We had a parish also at Texas.
So we know now a little bit about your background, how you came to Philadelphia, and the two of you became members of the community. Tell us about some of the traditions that you kept alive, or at least one.
Well, we, you know, at Easter time, all of the traditions, the red eggs and the on third, you don't, you know, dye them on Good Friday. It's got to be before that. All these little things that you remember what your mother did, I did. And in fact, you know, when I first got married, I didn't know how to even cook Greek. We certainly ate lots of good food. My mother was an excellent cook. I called her from Texas to find out how you make keftedes.
His relevance to the community, his history, what would you say Father Bandy was recognized for here in this community?
Well, he helped the priests. He was very happy to be able to, do the Mass, the liturgy with the priests, and he liked anything that had to do with knowledge, really, he sometimes gave, the lecture, the talk, and so forth.
He also had a brief history. I think you told me he worked with substituting in different churches, even with an Antiochian church at one time.
Even other Orthodox churches. One was the Syrian church. Yeah. They lost their priest. There was no priest that their bishop had to send, and they invited him for one Sunday, and after that they told their bishop that they wanted to keep him, and the bishop was very willing to have that done, and he kept he did the liturgies there for 8 years while he was working on his studies at Penn.
He was also involved with recording the history of St. George. Could you briefly talk about that?
Yes, he was very interested to find, the whole story about the church even before it became Greek Orthodox Church, about the building and the parish and so forth. And he did enjoy that and did a lot of research on it.
And he participated in the production of a history book, I think.
I think perhaps he would have, yes.
Tell us about, he was a man of education who constantly studied and read. He was into the classics. Up until his final years, is there some special project that he was working on? Was he putting something together?
He was working on an author of the 5th century A.D. His name was Ioannis Lydus, John Lydus, L-Y-D-U-S. There were 3 extant books of his, and he translated them into English and published it. Unfortunately, it got published right after he died. He didn't get a chance to see it done, but he had it finished. That work, to tell you how close we were. We worked together every day. At the computer, he was on the right side and I was on the left side. I did the computer work, and he would tell me what to do. And that took us 20 years from when we lived here in Philadelphia to finish those 3 authors. The 3 books of that author.
Could you talk a little bit more about that, your relationship with Father Bandy? Essentially, it sounds as if you've spent quite a few years being his right arm, helping him organize his notes, put together his projects. Could you talk a little bit more about how the 2 of you worked within the community on maybe some other projects?
Well, in the community, he didn't try to do anything on his own, really, because he was actually a visiting priest, and you don't want to interrupt a priest's regular. But he never had any problem, especially with Father Cathedral was very, very nice and enjoyed having Father Anastasius with him at the altar.
Well, let's go over a final thought. Is there something that you'd like to share for with the next generation about the Greek American community or your involvement with the church?
Yes, I would like to say that although we know that the Greek is difficult for most people and many of the younger people, I would not like to see it removed completely and just have a complete English translation of it. once you know the meanings, I think the beauty of the language and the music, if it's well done, is something that we should try to hold on to and not let it disappear. I think it's not just the language, really. You have to feel your religion and be like to do as your religion would like you to do.
Well, thank you for speaking with us, Presvytera Bandy, and we want to wish you well with your future endeavors, and we'll see you in church.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.